Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Welcome to episode 7 of what promises to be a rather litigious episode of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. Like a gentle wave, Crystal Palace hit the banks of the River Colne, retreated with 3 points and left a trail of salt in their wake. But as a German proverb says, trust no one till you've eaten a bushel of salt with him. Diving in today to watch me, Matt, do just that, and Neil, Danny and Kosi.
Good evening.
Evening.
I'm Matthew.
So guys, we're recording this on a Tuesday. The game was on Saturday. I'm still flat, dejected, disappointed with the result from Saturday. I'm sulking, I'm salty. What about you guys?
Good performance. Should have been 3 points. It's like it all just sticks in the throat a bit. All the Wilfred weapons stuff.
Wilf the Whopper.
Just a cheat. I don't care what anybody says. Cheat might sound strong. There's no denying that Zaha is a quality footballer, but he's not one that I can admire in the same way that you admire other top players, because it's all the theatrics that goes with it and all the crying. The interview on the BBC afterwards was a disgrace, and the fact that they pushed it as an agenda and sort of backed him up made it even worse. He's going to get tackled. He's quicker than probably 95% of the division defenders. He's going to get tackled. There's going to be mistimed tackles. They're not all foul. They're not all malicious. They're not all out to hurt him.
Rotational fouls, apparently, Neil. That's the new buzzword.
What an absolute load of bollocks. It's just...
I agree.
It's guff. I don't agree with any of it. The lad has scored a brilliant goal. That's what we should be talking about, even in defeat. If you've lost 1-0 to a great goal, I'd talk about that happily. But because it's from him and there's all the drama around him, I can't give him any credit whatsoever.
It's the self-righteous attitude that he portrays as well after... Do you know the foul on Haderjanai? We all frothed a little bit when it happened, didn't we? Because it was him. Looking back, it wasn't that bad. It was worth the yellow card. It was studs high. Apparently one Crystal Palace fan did say that Haderjanai followed through on Wilfred Zaha and milked it, so should have been sent off as well. Which is fantastic.
Just ridiculous. And the whole thing, the fact that we're still seething about it 2-3 days later, just about sums it up. We should be talking about the great goal and a good town performance, to be honest.
Exactly. It's just one Pied Piper and a merry band of idiotic zealots following him, and that's the bit which is the circus behind it, which is incredibly annoying.
Yeah, I was going to say, from my point of view, the player like that is going to get tackled, and he's going to get late tackles. You look at Van La Parra for us, and it winds me up somewhat rotten when he does the same on a lesser extent, because he doesn't beat as many men, but he's that sort of winger who will take players on. He is fast, and he gets clipped, but he rolls around as well. And I'm one at first to say, just get up and get on with it, because he does milk it.
I think that's the thing, Danny. When Van La Parra's as bad as Zaha for milking things and rolling around, but when he does it, we roll our eyes and just say, "Get up, Raj, just get on with it." But it's the circus which follows.
Van La Parra don't get interviewed by BBC after the game with a big piece put on Twitter, a big piece put out in social media about the sort of injustice against him. That don't happen.
If he was as good as Zaha and he was the guy that was going to keep us up this season or keep us in midfield, would we be the same?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas I've slated them, would probably be just as bad, and we'd be sat here going, "Do you know what the fouls on Van La Parra are ridiculous?"
No, I meant it other way, to be honest, because it'd still wind me up. Whether if we were top at league and he was still doing that, it'd still wind me up, because I don't think there's a place for it in football.
I think we got it a bit from Gary Roberts, who was that sort of quality in League One, and he'd take a dive, and he'd know he were taking a dive. I don't think he'd roll around so much, but he would throw himself over, same as Alan Lee. He used to throw himself over.
It wasn't as convincing as Alan Lee, was it?
No, but I mean, yeah, it's always annoyed me, that sort of thing anyway, so I don't think it's hypocritical to have a go at Zaha there when we're having a go at our own players for doing it.
It's more the media storm around it, sort of justifying what he's saying, and the story that he's coming out with, that he's victimised this and other. The fact that so many media outlets come out in support of him It's football. What are we just taking tackling out of the game altogether? I mean, it's an absolute joke. If you go around every club in Premier League, all the heroes will be your likes of Roy Keane, Gerrard, all the players who love to get stuck in and put a tackle in. But people are now saying that those players, there's no place for them anymore.
We saw similar tackles by Cute and MacArthur on Town players, and same, they were just bookings, although Kiate didn't get booked. The ref played on, and it seemed to go on that long that he just seemed to think I won't bother. But again, Billing the week before at Everton got a similar one from Tom Davis. He got clipped late on, but yeah, you don't stand around and feel sorry for yourself for it.
So we'll leave Zaha there for now.
Yeah, what best to do.
So Town themselves lined up in the new 3-4-3 system, kept pretty much the same tact as Everton. We tried to attack, we've tried to create openings, but for me, it was just bad luck. You know, there's a lot of people complaining about chances created, and I'll pull out some more statistics on that later on, but we've had 15 shots. We've had majority possession, 56-7%, I think it was. 2 shots on target against Poole, but that doesn't include the shot against the post because that gets counted as an off-target shot. We've had 6 shots from outside the box. We have 4 shots blocked. It's disappointing. The reason why it's disappointing to lose is because, Kosi, it's an improved performance.
I was delighted with Saturday. Obviously, not delighted we lost, but we're looking to build on Everton. I did wonder if the week away would, hinder us, but not at all. Thought we were great. Did everything but score. Yeah, we'd like to see some more chances created and obviously definitely be more efficient in front of goal. But we did everything we could have asked, and I obviously you can never prove it, and who knows, we might have retreated into our shells if we'd have got more goal shots or he'd have gone in. But I'm convinced we'd have gone on and won that. I think the crowd was so irritated with Zaha. I think the Town fans, to me, always like it when there's a referee that's not doing whatever, or there's a player that they like to get at. We seem to be a bit more at them, from the sidelines. I think we'd have gone on and won the game, Matthew. But obviously we don't know that for sure. And yeah, we walked out of there disappointed. But I couldn't get mad with anything. I rung Radio Leeds after, had a bit of a spat with Matt Glennon, to be honest with you, but about certain things. But I would just. Yeah, we lost, but it was great. The performance was better. We're improving as a team. But we haven't won. But that's all you can ask. We were sat here about 3 weeks ago, moaning how boring it is. We're not creating anything. We came in after Stoke, and we're seeing what we want to see now. But obviously, we want to see a win.
So 2 people in that team. I'm with you. I thought the performance was good. I was happy with how we played. I was just really disappointed that we didn't get what I thought we deserved, which was a comfortable home win. 2 players who are really standing out at the minute. Philip Billing. Excellent again.
Yeah, he was superb. He just carried on from what he'd done at Everton, and I'm guessing the next person that you're going to mention is Chris Lover.
Chris Lover, that's the one.
Yeah, he was superb again on that left, and he was. Some of his crossing again was much better than it had been previously, given that he only had Mounier to pick out, but he picked out Mounier in that first half when Hennessy was in no man's land, and if it had been on target, it'd have been in the back of the net, but Mounier put it over. I was just thinking back, actually, you mentioned the shot stats, and what won't be included there. 3 chances we had where they were flagged offside just before the shot came in, but there were 3 chances that we should have put in the back of the net regardless of the flag, and that's what worries me. We had 3 sitters that wouldn't have counted, but the players taking the chances didn't know that, and we either missed the target or they were saved, and that's a worry for me.
I watched the Zanka interview as well post-match, and there was a chance which floated across and Zanka couldn't quite get his head on, and again that doesn't count as a shot or a chance, and he looked pretty crestfallen in the interview after the game. It probably wasn't the easiest of watches, really, and I imagine that a lot of the players after Everton and yesterday thinking, what do we have to do? And it's getting tough, but Chris Lover, Neil's a really important part of the side over the last couple of weeks, and he's stepping up just when you need people to put their head above the parapet.
The last 2 games particularly, he has been every inch the Premier League fullback for me, albeit playing a lot further forward. He's the one fullback that you can rely on to put a good cross in, and he's done that consistently well for the last 2 games. It's well worth his place for me.
What I really like about Lover is it's his intelligence. He knows where to be. You've got one guy on the other flank, Haderjanai, who, for me, I my feelings on Haderjanai. I don't see him as a natural defender, and there's 2. I know it's against Wilfred Zaha, who Neil, I believe you were told was as good as Messi, and.
True story.
And as a fullback, you don't show a right-footed left winger inside, and he's done it twice during the game. And the first time he's scored the goal, he's easily skipped inside and scored. And the second time he's put the ball wide. And for me, Lerver doesn't do that. And Lerver, it's the intelligence Lerver brings to the team. And you watch Haderjanai on one side, or any fullback that we've had. To be honest, I'm not going to single him out, but any right back that we've had for the last 25 years or so tends to just go bomb down the outside and just, without looking, just pop across into the box. Whereas Lerver, what I really liked is that he moves almost like Guardiola does with Man City. He moves into the centre of the park. When Van der Parra goes wide, he underlaps and he goes into intelligent spaces, and he knows he doesn't have the pace to maybe get on and bomb past people, but it's where and how he gets into positions, which I really, really like. And he reminded me, I know this is a bit of an extreme example, but he reminded me a little bit of when Philippe Lahm was at the end of his career and he moved into a defensive midfield position. He was a small fullback who moved into a defensive midfield position, and I see him popping up in these areas, and I'm really happy with what
he's clever enough to do it. He's a proper footballer, as I like to call him. I think the one major disappointment for me from Saturday, apart from the game as a whole, obviously the outcome and the furore surrounding it was that there was no Derm. Was really disappointed that he was unfit. So I think we'd all sort of built it up that we wanted him back, wanted him in the team. He had a good couple of sub appearances, done well in a behind closed doors game. So that was a major disappointment for me, not having him in there on Saturday.
The biggest disappointment for me was Saturday last week. You said, Matt, let's make your head get bigger here. Zaha plays, Palace win. Paul Merson, we were mocking his punditry. I think he said if Palace...
You're not comparing me to Paul Merson, are you, please? I've been sober for years, mate.
Far better looking, mate. But Merson's analysis, which I mocked on that show that you put me on with, that Love Radio show on Friday, I mocked. He said Zaha plays, Palace win. We knew what he was capable of doing. I've got to say, I mean, obviously you analyse it better than me, David Wagner will do, and the coaching staff, but he had absolutely no right to score from where he was. It was an incredible goal. I just went, wow, forget about everything else on that as well. We knew what makes me gutted, we know in the Premier League that there's going to be class that's going to win the day. We saw it with Tottenham and all the other big teams kind of last season. What gutted me was I didn't think they were much good, but we knew they had a gun player. You knew he could destroy us, kill us with one bullet, and he did, and that hurts to me because I thought they were pretty riff-raff apart from him.
Yeah, I've said that the fullback could have done better, but once he gets that shot off the shot itself is top class, isn't it? And
you knew it was it. I mean, I was in the south stand, and as soon as it left his boot, I just knew it. I sat down, I just thought, it's in, and it was. And yeah, it hurt. And again, because you're thinking, we'll go behind, and his history of coming back is pretty miserable since we've been promoted. And yeah, you couldn't fault what we did, but it was a real dagger through his hearts, that.
We've drifted back onto Zaha, and it probably ties in with another feature, a new feature that we're going to bring in shortly, Neil, as well. But I think one thing that disappoints me with Zaha as well is that he played a couple of times for England in friendlies and then lost his place and lost all form really, and decided and elected to play for the Ivory Coast. And to be honest, when you look at that England team now, you could probably do with him, Kosi.
Who's our Zaha though? Who is our Zaha?
It's supposed to be
I'm
Sterling,
not saying
isn't it?
Van der Parra, but no,
Huddersfield.
I'm talking about Huddersfield. Who's our guy that can do that? Or is there no one in our team?
I don't think we've got to that level yet, and I think he's
no. Who's that gun player?
If you look through the league as a whole, there's very few. He'd probably get in 2 or 3 of the top 6. He won't get in them all, but he'd probably get in 2 or 3 sides in the top 6.
Rotate with most as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But just the absolute standout for them in what was, for me, a generally poor Palace team.
He is top class, yeah, and to go to gun players, Kosi, I think you're probably looking at Aaron Moy for us, but is he far enough forward to be a gun player?
No, I mean, we're probably coming on to Alex Pritchard. I think we've all got different views on him. I think he's our gun player, a man who can change a game with a bit of magic. We've probably not seen it enough since his time in HD1, but I'm looking around thinking who's going to, be our... I mean, you commented earlier on, I think Billing, got in a cut through. You want to take it on nearly cut through?
I was just waiting for him. It did it 2 or 3 times at Everton where he just sort of coasted through the middle of the pitch and looked every inch of Prem play, and he did it again on Saturday, and it opened up, and he just thinking, just put your foot through the back of this, because we've all seen it. He's got history of scoring absolute screamers. When he hits it, it stays it. And if he'd have done that on Saturday, I'd have fancied him from, what was it, just 22 yards, something like that. But he chose to pass, and it was just one of those
I think
moments.
it'll come. I think it'll come.
I think it will come, and I think it will be doubt of confidence. But with stuff like that, I just wish he'd back himself, because when you're talking about a player who can be special for you, and I know people listen to this, and I know Billing gets a lot of stick on social media, but for me, he has got everything in his locker to be a top player, and it's no coincidence that in the top 50 players so far this season in the Prem, that he's our only entrant.
I think it's an interesting balance, though. I don't think it's been potted out much. They had a right chance second half on the break. How he didn't get on the end of that, and we were finished then after that. So, we played better, and we did have majority play, and I thought we deserved something. They had a couple of chances we could have been killed off, so I think just got to bear that in mind. But I suppose I'd rather have that, Neil, than us having a go.
The only balance for me of that is that Town were having a go.
Yeah.
And if you're going to leave yourself open having a go getting back, I'll accept that every day, won't me?
I'll pick those up, Kosi, because I know which chances you're on about, and I think both of them came from mishits and shanks. And it just felt on Saturday that every time we mishit or misplaced something, the ball just didn't fall for us, and everything just seemed to fall nicely for Crystal Palace. And I think it's just, you've got to draw a line in it, haven't you, and say, do you know what, because David Wagner's really good at this, drawing a line in it and moving on. And we're probably going to have to do the same, and I am anyway. I've got to stop being such a salty one about this one, because we played well. We've got to take that to next week, and hopefully we'll start getting what we deserve.
One thing that annoys me though, Matt, and again, I sort of put it in the paper, but at this stage last year, Huddersfield had X amount of points. At this, we had a different set of fixtures. It was a different. I'm sick of hearing that, and I think that a lot of our fans are buying into that now. And it's kind of, we had this amount of points last year, and look at what we've got now. Forget that. That season's gone. We've just got to look at it and go forward. Yeah, we thought Cardiff. Yeah, we thought Saturday we'd get more than what we did, but forget about last year. We're not bothered about that. We know what we need to do. We know what we need to get, and we just got to crack on.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that one. So what we'll do is we'll bring in our new feature, Neil, which is all about you, buddy. Episode 7 has seen us drift away from the niceness approach before, and we have a new feature, Whopper of the Week.
Yeah, Whopper of the Week.
So
I think it's been a long time coming.
So you've been on Whopper Watch this last week.
I have indeed.
Are you going to fill us in with
What's the
what
criteria
delights?
for this? Is this just an individual, or what's your thoughts?
It could, just something that stands out to you. Something that just stands out as being complete whopperage, to be honest. And I think we've all have witnessed plenty of that over the last few days. Unfortunately, a lot of it arcs back to the man that seems to be dominating this show like he dominated the weekend. Zaha, and he is the first Whopper of the Week. I think his Match of the Day BBC interview crying over his treatment and saying that people want to break his legs and he's only going to get red cards if they break his legs and whatever else.
He was foul once.
He was foul once in the game, and it was just because he was too quick for Zanka. Honourable mentions, I had one Palace fan telling me that he was as good as Messi. So I quoted a few stats of Messi and what he's won and what he's achieved in the game. Ballon d'Ors, Champions Leagues, but this lad wasn't having it. He wasn't having it at all. So, yeah, the Whopper of the Week, the first one is Mr. Wilfred Soft Zaha.
The things you say, your platforms just give you away. The things you say, you're unbelievable.
You were the recipient of a few tasty tackles, shall we say, this afternoon. Just talk to us about that.
I don't even know what to say anymore. I feel like before anyone gets a red card, I'd have to get my leg broken or something. Which is why I lose my head, because it's like some of the yellow cards, like against Watford, the guy stood on the back of my calf and still a yellow card. It's like, why am I getting different treatment to other players? So yeah, I just don't understand it, and it's every week, every referee.
Congratulations to Joe Wilfred the Whopper Zaha. I'd give some honourable mentions as well to Keith Hackett. The apparent brutality that Zaha suffered.
Jamie Redknapp.
Robbie Savage, and also my favourite, Danny Murphy.
They all just sort of jump on the bandwagon and they all go a bit soft. The best one I heard, to be fair, is the one that would probably, generally speaking, not agree with, was the ginger chap from TalkSport, the Peterborough massive, Mr. Adrian Durham, and he gave Zaha a bit of a slating, to be fair.
Every now and then a squirrel finds a nut, doesn't he?
It does, and he got a big nut, to be fair, and he had a good old chomp. So,
But do it for a reaction, though, mate. And as we all know,
that's right.
He probably don't believe that, mate.
But
you know.
if he does or he doesn't,
Yeah.
the fact that he said it was just nice to hear somebody not falling over Zaha.
I must admit, I don't know. Referee, it does me head in rugby league, but it's even in football. I like to. I know it's not easy sometimes, but I like to try and separate that when people think people are cheated out, whatever happened, but we lost, and he scored a winning goal. That's what it was. So
I think all we asked for, though, is consistency, and that's what they don't give us. I mean, the foul on Billing from Kiate, it's a yellow card all day long, and the fact that there was a bit of a passage of play in between the foul being committed and the ball going out, maybe by the time it's got to it, refs thought, I will leave that now.
But ultimately,
it's a yellow.
It didn't cost us the match.
No, do you know what? I thought,
Zaha's
apart
goal.
from that, I've never liked, it was Lee Mason, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I've never liked Lee Mason, but apart from that, I thought he actually refereed it pretty well.
I'll be honest,
to
I
be
don't
fair.
like any of them. There's none of them. Let's be honest, you never go away from a game going, refs had a good game today. Very rare.
I enjoyed Danny's depiction. He's staying very quiet on this one.
I genuinely don't get that fussed about referees. I know that I always sort of put them in reports as clowns and whatnot, but that's the bit where I am openly biased and just for the humour's sake. So
I think we all are. I haven't seen the Kiati challenge again. I saw it live and I haven't seen it back on TV. And it could be nothing.
Because he's right, it did not change the game.
No,
One bit of brilliance won that game.
That aside,
I know
I
that
thought
it
it
was
was all right.
It's the fact that it came from the bloke who... he's a brilliant footballer, but I just can't admire somebody I just can't admire him at all.
The one thing I will say about
everything that he
referees,
is.
and sometimes you hear some of the stuff of cheat and all this, I'm laughing at, I mean, about Whopper of the week. I think South stand singing Wolf, you're effing SHIT. Just this were after they'd scored. So
It's
there's
class.
quite a few Whoppers there.
Yeah, I mean,
he's
is
top
not
class,
Whopper.
isn't he?
The one thing that a couple of people tweeted me on Saturday, it's an interesting one, and maybe it's just an agenda against Mounier, but someone saying that all I ever hear is the wingers, the service ain't good enough all the time for our strikers, but Mounier again gets away scot-free for missing chances. Maybe it's someone with a
Thing is, though, the amount of chances he gets, he'd have to be bloody prolific.
Well, that was Saturday. That was a big chance that I thought, and I
should have
was
scored.
behind
I
it,
thought it was just a bit too high for him. Yeah,
I
just
thought that
slightly.
till I saw it.
But yeah, just slightly. But again, I think he's mistimed the jump as well. So maybe.
But it's an all other argument. But he's for me.
I like him.
Controversial is a better
Again,
footballer than De Poitre.
He did what we've not wanted in the last few pods. He went with him again, didn't he? De Poitre and Mooney, and again it didn't work.
Yeah, just
It does my boxing, doesn't
I mean,
it?
I know Matt, you're going to get onto Pritchard at some point, but for me, that was the point where when he fetched De Poitre on, that would have been the entrance of Pritchard for me for a little bit.
I say it
of
every time. I don't think we've scored a goal when they've both been on the pitch at the same time.
We look less likely to score
But
a goal when they're both on
the first thing that happened was Lossell bombed it forward, and they both went for the same ball, and it just happens, and both of them stand there static, even when they're not playing together. They're always static, and it's something that I'm going to pick up on in a little bit. Is how static we are in the final third. But what we'll do, so now we've finished Whopper Watch, Neil. We had an interesting question from one of our listeners / best friends at the minute, because she says such nice things about us, Claire Hill, and she's come up with a really good one actually. She's put, reflecting on the whole media circus surrounding Zaha. In your time watching Town, what has been the worst foul committed against one of our players? And for the Whopper, what is the worst foul committed by one of our players?
There's only one. There's been a lot against it, but there's only one for me.
I can think of one, and I wasn't there to see it, so this is probably going to be as bad as
we
it is.
mentioned it on a previous podcast. It was the one where Jeff Hopkins of Fulham broke David Burke's leg in front of the Old East Terrace, and Sam Allardyce just went straight up, punched Jeff Hopkins square in the face, didn't even wait for the card and walked off. And probably the worst one that we've committed cost a certain player £1 million, and it was Kevin Gray on Gordon Watson.
Was that not the Crystal Palace fans video where he's done the foul on Zaha with contact in big red letters? Does that not?
You're on about the yellow card challenge by Kevin Gray there.
I still remember if Gordon Watson doesn't elbow Paul Reed and brutally assault him, according to Keith Hackett.
There's always mitigating circumstances. In that game, Gordon Watson was a disgrace.
The tackle. To be fair,
it's a bad tackle.
With the benefit of time and everything, it is an absolute shocker from Kevin Gray. It's a real rancid tackle. Yeah. It is. You know, I look at it now and I wince still. And when was this? 1997, 8, somewhere around there. Yeah. It doesn't age well with time. It's an absolute awful challenge. And
the only saving grace on that, and I'll probably get slagged off for saying this, is that it happened to a Bradford player, so I would have thought,
There was another one as well. I don't know if you remember Darren Pitcher from Charlton, but Paul Reed fouled Darren Pitcher from Charlton as well and ended his career. It was a little bit more innocuous than that, but he also got sued, but Darren Pitcher didn't win on this occasion. So the only other one that I could think of more modern times was but it was more accidental, was the tackle on Anthony Pilkington, which had his leg.
Yeah,
his ankle dislocated, but that was more of an accidental kind of thing. But I think we've been quite lucky. I don't think we've seen that many.
I'd go for Alan Lee's deliberate elbow in that Walsall game in his first season, because that was just petulance.
His savage attack
I've tried to blank everything Alan Lee out of my mind.
The one on Alex Bruce at Hull as well. That was abysmal. Was that so? Yeah. So to answer your question, Claire, Jeff Hopkins on David Burke. Anything by Alan Lee for us and Kevin Gray. So what we'll move on to a little bit now is what we've alluded to, chaps, and that was me bemoaning some of our tactical failings in the attacking third. So what I've done over the last few games is because I've been trying to understand why we score so few goals, and it's everybody's getting frustrated by it. Everybody's talking about systems. Is it the 3-4-3? Is it the 4-2-3-1? And for me, the answer is something a little bit more. It's more player related than anything else. What we've got is even when we play 4-2-3-1, 3-4-3, it doesn't matter because we set up with the same three. We have two wingers who play in half spaces, and we have one striker. What I've noticed, so I'll read out some stats. I'm talking about home games in particular here. So belts and braces, chaps. So we've had 6 games since. So we've had 6 games since February 2018 to May 18. Scored once. This is at home. That's the Watford goal in the last minute. 3 games this season with no goal. So that's 9 home games with 1 goal. That's 1 goal in at least 810 minutes of football. So statistics, I've been busy this afternoon. Don't tell work. Last season, in terms of goals, we were joint bottom with 28 with Swansea. Shots, we had the 3rd lowest in the league. Big chances missed, which is an interesting stat on the, you can see it on the Premier League website, it's good. We were bottom, having missed the least big chances. So in terms of profligacy, we're actually not too bad. The problem is
we don't create any though, isn't it?
It is, that's the problem. And this season, goals, we're bottom. Cardiff have scored more than us. We've not scored from open play since Chelsea away last season. Shots, we're joint bottom with Newcastle. Big chances missed, bottom. And we're averaging around 2 shots on target per game. And a friend of mine, so he did some stats earlier because he's talking about, so Kosi goes back to what you were saying about how last season, I argued with him the same as you. I said to him, well, last season we got Newcastle early doors, we got Palace when they were in a bit of a mire, we had West Brom when they were bad, and I thought we actually had some quite good fixtures early on last year, so I'm with you on that. And what he's found, so there has been a change, a bit of a step change between 2017 and 18. So we've had 21 games in 2017, 22 so far in 2018. So and this is just Premier League, this is not counting the Championship. So we scored 18 goals in those 21 games, averaging 0.86 per game with 32 against, which is an average against of 1.52, which gave us 24 points and an average of 1.14 points per game. And 1.44 points per game is enough to keep you in this league. So since January 2018, we've had 22 games. We've scored 12 goals, an average of half a goal per game with 37 against. And we're averaging more, 1.68 against per game. 15 points, and we're averaging now 0.68 points per game in this calendar year. if we continue on this current trajectory of form in 2018, it'll see us finish the season on 25 points with 21 goals and 64 conceded with a minus 42 goal difference.
Will that keep us up?
Only if Derby County are in the league 3 times, I'm afraid.
Yeah, we know this, kind of where we're heading if things don't change, but it's, again, when I was chatting with Sutty pre-season about town, what do you think, blah, blah, blah. He said, Alex Pritchard, he's the man. You've got to get him involved. If Huddersfield to stay up, they've got to get the best out of Alex Pritchard, and so far, we have not. And it is a worry. I mean, it was interesting, David Wagner's interview. It was a bit surreal for me. It was kind of like, as soon as Oggy asked him, I thought, oh, is he going to kind of give anything away? Because he's hit and miss sometimes. But he went into big detail about why he wasn't playing. He said he was a really big team, Crystal Palace, and didn't think it'd suit his, kind of skills. But I couldn't disagree more, to be honest with you. And yeah, it just worries me. And no surprise, people are going to start to talk now. Is there something going on off the field, etc., etc.? Because that game for me, we're crying out for him on Saturday, lads. I don't know what you thought.
So I'll just the one thing that I've noticed, Kosi, so going back to 2018, and one thing which is starting to grind on me is when I go back to that front three, and the problem I've got is that when we get in the final third, there's absolutely zero movement of any player. The only players providing any sort of movement are the 2 fullbacks coming up from deep. Every time we get in the final third, whatever striker it is, whether it's Mounier or whether it's Depoitre, all they do is just drift off onto the far post. And when those crosses come in, and we're talking about Hadajinai, and his crossing ratio is, in terms of converted crosses, is really, really poor. But when I'm watching Mounier, and he's not making any runs. For a striker, you've got to make runs across the defender, and he stood static in the box. And it's not a Mounier versus Depoitre thing, because when Depoitre comes on, he does the exact same thing. Neither of them move in that final third, and no one gets close to them. No one looks to play a 1-2 off them. And it's the ones that they do play the 1-2s off are the wingers who've dropped so deep that it's not really that effective in the final third. And for me, what we've got to do is we've seen, I've pulled out the stats from 2018, they're pretty grim, but we've got to try and get the wingers higher up the pitch for me. It's something that we've got to try and do. And we go back to the Championship, and when everybody's talking about terrier spirit, etc., etc., and we had 2 wingers getting high up the pitch and really pushing defences. And that just seems to have stopped for me. And it's the complete it's the static nature of us in the final third, which is really, really hurting us.
Well, we bought some wingers, Matt, haven't we? And obviously we've not seen them. We're here in it's early days, got to get used to the system, the players, etc., etc., etc. But when they are fit and 100% ready to go, and Saturday again, we didn't see enough of them, 20 minutes kind of piece at the end. Is anything going to be different? Is he going to unleash a new system? Are these guys, or is it just going to be like for like? That's going to be the interesting thing for me, because again on Saturday it came on, and again you've still got to say the jury's out and on the new guys, and Benza, again just chasing kind of lost causes. We haven't seen Sobby. I don't know if anyone's seen him. He's
injured.
He's injured. It's so frustrating. That really. But at the moment, it's just. I think that's the worrying thing for me more of all is the signings. Yeah, you want instant impact with everything you get naturally, but it's questionable that the guys we've signed, did we really need all 3?
This is another thing I've seen floating around, and it's a point I've thought about a little bit, but not really weighed up, and that is, would we have been better getting 1 player? So we're talking about Mbenza apparently is going to cost 13.5 million if he signs on the dotted line, and there's quite a big loan fee. Sobey was 5.7, and Diakabi was around 8 to 9, wasn't he?
7.2, I think.
So there's coming up to 25 million-ish. Well, there's 25 million of winger there, isn't there, between 3 who, if you're brutally honest so far, haven't really improved on last season. Would we have been better off getting 1 player? Again, you combine the wages. Would we have been better off getting 1 player? But then again, you run the risk if that 1 player gets injured, what else do we have left?
Sorry to butt in again, lads. It's going to be talking on time, but until these guys that are playing, and they've got a one-on-one situation where I'm thinking, right, mate, go for it, rip this fullback apart.
To be fair, the one bit that Diakabi got 1 run at fullback on Saturday, and he coasted past him.
He'd gone past him, yeah.
Coasted. But then, I agree with Kosi. We've got to. There's no way you can judge them yet. They've not played anywhere near enough football to be judged. So
but why are they not playing football?
They're clearly not ready, are they? They're clearly just getting used to. It's a well-known fact that Wagner likes to have them in classroom as much as on training pitch, learning everything about us. The young lads are settling into a new culture, a new environment, and I don't think fans appreciate that sometimes. Obviously, that doesn't help us on the pitch. We need them playing. But they are big moves, and it might not be until next season they actually see benefits of these lads, but obviously it might be a bit too late then.
Well, that's another point. But you make a good point there, because Zanka started a bit... He was a little bit ropey at first, wasn't he? But from November onward, I think that Man United game where he made that huge block. From then onwards, he's been amazing for us, I think. And there's only really Congolo who's really come in and fitted straight in, isn't there? Where the other guys have... You
can't compare Congolo to anybody else. Congolo's just different class.
So my main issue at the minute is just they're so static, and it doesn't matter who plays.
That's where I'd like to see Pritchard. I think that first half against Chelsea, he was buzzing around the area. He was sort of setting players up and creating chances for himself. That's why I want to see him there. So when we brought on De Poitre, I think it was the argument that we've only got one person to aim at in the box, but Mounier should be enough to aim at in the box. If you're going to put somebody else in there, I don't really want another target man. I'd rather have like a Pritchard who's there for a knockdown, who's there for a loose ball, who is sort of buzzing around in that area. I just think against Chelsea, that first half, I thought he had a really good game, and we've not seen it since.
Agreed.
So I'm moving on now to Pritchard himself. So he's the one player that everybody seems to be pinning the hopes on at the minute. And my question to you guys is this Town fans looking for a white knight who's not playing like we did with Joey Goodjohnson back in 2012. I don't know if you remember the fawning over Joey Goodjohnson when Simon Grayson came in and wasn't playing. He came in, useless. Joe Lolly, around about 2014-15, people were fawning for Joe Lolly, came in, had injury problems, so it didn't quite work out. Is Alex Pritchard the 2018 version of these, or should he be playing? And it's a question I opened up to Twitter. So I asked Twitter whether Alex Pritchard should be starting and why or why not. So 77% say that they will be starting Alex Pritchard, which is a bit of a landslide.
I think people, when you're not winning games, people are always going to look at players who are not playing and say they could make the difference and that as well. It's a natural football chat. But I genuinely believe this guy gives us something totally different that we have not got. And you make a good point of that. The midfield's so static. We just need someone, running at the box and, maybe getting a penalty, going over the leg, or, just kind of getting in that, danger, doing something different. As much as I love Moyne, we're brilliant on Saturday. He's never going to give you that. And
let's remember as well that in this Huddersfield Town, there's only 3 or 4 players that have cost us 8 figures. He's one of them.
I just remember that Bournemouth game.
We sort of went all in for him in January, and he looked good.
I know, just to ball everyone with that Bournemouth game again, but he burst. If that goal, mate, it burst into the box. He took the ball and bang, and it was just like, wow. I remember, again, he mentioned him earlier, Adrian Durham. And he was like, I remember him watching this guy, unbelievable, what a sign for Huddersfield, this, that, and the other. Everyone knows, but obviously the main man at the moment is just keeping him out of the running. But
we don't know the ins and outs, and it's probably as well that we don't. It's not to do with us. We just know what we see on a Saturday afternoon, and for me,
I did notice on
we need to get him in now. He needs to be given 10 games uninterrupted to get some kind of form going.
I noticed on Saturday was stood up with his top unzipped, and I thought, yes, he's coming on, and then all of a sudden, I don't know whether he changed his mind or what have you, but he sat back down again, zipped back his top, and he's kind of sat down in a bit of an uff, almost like it looked like he was going to come on. So it's just all very odd. But he gave a great explanation, if anyone listened to the Radio Leeds interview after, why he wasn't playing. But I just didn't agree with it. But he's the boss.
Yeah, I think he said that Palace were too strong down the middle for us, and that we were going to use the wings, which is fair enough. But again, I think that last 30 minutes, 20 minutes, try something different, because it hadn't happened up until that point. So I just didn't see De Poitre making that much of a difference when he came on, and he didn't. So it's easy with hindsight, and like you said, everybody's going to clamber for a player like that. But I think going back to that Chelsea game, he did change the way that we were playing, and again, second half in that Chelsea game, we just weren't in it at all, whereas we had been in the first half.
Okay, so I'll read out some of the comments on Twitter, and thank you very much for those who've got involved and sent us messages. So Freddie Cocker is looking for a more nuanced answer. He's posh, is Freddie. He wants something that derives from the starting berth and the formation and the type of team that we're playing, to contrast how positive we want to be or more contained. So I think what Freddie's trying to get at is that it depends on the system. We've got Sam as well, he says, if he's not up to it in training, then he trusts Wagner's judgment. I'm sure across the season we'll see more of him. Adjusting the formation for one player isn't something I can see us doing. Still plenty of time for him and the other players to make an impact this season. Chris Healy says, we aren't playing a formation for a recognised number 10. I'd go 4-4-1-1 if he's wanting to play more defensively. Personally, I prefer 3-4-2-1 wing-backs or a 4-1-3-2 with wingers with more advanced. Huddersfield Town's very own Jason Mohammed lookalike Graham Ellis has been in touch as well, and he said, for me, it's about playing Pritchard. It's not so much about playing Pritchard as the attacking intent that we play with. Don't put enough crosses or don't create enough opportunities in the danger area, and it doesn't matter who's playing. Minardi Forever says, depends on Wagner's tactics. If the position doesn't suit a game's formation, then fine and keep him as an impact sub. Otherwise, if he's fit, play him. Jason Wilson says, even when we were behind against Crystal Palace, there was no more urgency than when 0-0. We only seem to play at one pace. Pritchard speeds up that part of our play. But on a negative, should we have bought Maddison instead? And Maddison was one player that I was raving about from September onwards last year, but by the time January rolled around, I think he'd unfortunately left our stratosphere, sadly.
Yeah, I think he'd been linked at that point with bigger clubs than us, so that was never going to happen, I don't think.
Yeah, and one for you, Danny, here. So at Alan Lee 19's been in touch. And he says, for me, he offers more creativity than Mbenza and Diakabi as an impact sub, but for him to start would mean a change in tactics or dropping Moy.
Well, I certainly wouldn't drop Moy, but yeah, it's whether he does have to play in that number 10 role. But I mean, you could argue that the tactics just aren't working without that number 10 at the moment. So he would start for me, and I would play him in that number 10 role. But I would have been happy on Saturday. The team I was okay with. The only change I would have had in was would have been Durham at right back. But I think it was the substitution bringing De Poitre on. That's where I thought it should have been Pritchard coming on.
Yeah, I'd like to see that as well.
All that echoed ×2. I agree with it.
Okay, so I saw the way that the Twitter poll was going, so I thought I'm going to try and play a bit more devil's advocate and dig out a couple of bits and bats on this one. So you look at Alex Pritchard, you look at the way we played from 2016-17. We played with pace, strength, pressing, very quick one-touch football. And you look at Alex Pritchard, but what he is a player who needs those around him to be quick and incisive. When he's a good passer of the ball, he's a bit of a jack in the box. He's good at receiving the ball, spinning and finding somebody. But his skill set for me is probably really poorly matched to the other 10 players on the pitch. He's a good player, is Alex Pritchard. He's technically very good. His delivery is very good. He's a really good passer. He spots things. But when everyone around you is so static and offers no movement, he's left with nothing but to do to hold on to the ball. And what he's finding out is every time he gets it, he's just getting cleaned out and we lose the ball. And we go back to one that we did 2 weeks ago, or the podcast we did 2 weeks ago, and we look back at how Casey Palmer and Izzy Brown were used when we had them in the Championship. Both physically strong, very skillful, could run with the ball. They could open doors by that. And they're both could press from the front foot. Very different types of players to Alex Pritchard. And I'll ask the question again, would we have been better off going with a more physical number 10 than a more neat number 10, just based on the skill set? Because just some stats for Alex Pritchard as well. So he's made 16 appearances. He's been subbed off in 8 of them. So that's 50% of the games he's been taken off.
Can't say he's ineffective. We might be winning some
I
games.
don't think we've seen anywhere near enough of him.
I agree, Neil. He can't.
On him.
As others say, we know we're going to win, top 8 games or what have you. And to me, he contributed to so much of our, points. We've not seen him enough. I can't agree. If he's started 20 games, and I'm weird all the way, and he has a minimal impact on that as well. But what I've seen and what he can offer is totally different to anyone else that we've got. You don't just break your chances.
And let's be fair, we've played 6 games this season, and we've scored twice.
I agree with what Danny said against Chelsea. I thought he was really good. I was really disappointed he came off at half time.
I'd go as far as to say if we don't sign him in January, then we'd have gone down. That's what I think.
Because we go back to January, and he's in February, played against Bournemouth, scored, played really well, created Muniez's goal the week after. Since then, he's gone 13 games without creating
Man City
anything.
were outstanding. He were absolutely outstanding at Man City.
Yeah, but
West Brom won it, Muniez's goal.
Yeah, so since then, he's not created anything. And I'm not saying he's a bad player at all. He's a good player.
At Man City were a threat against the champion team, mate. I remember thinking, wow, this player, next season we need to see so much more of him.
I remember the one shot he had, but apart from that, I don't
He had them back healing, mate, and that's something we don't have enough of. He's direct. He's low sense of gravity. He can be as Zaha.
I think what we do need to see is we've got, like I say, a player that's cost us 10 million plus, and I think we haven't seen anywhere near enough of him to give a proper assessment. And stats can read two ways for me, and it's what you take out of them.
I think the thing that worried me here was
he needs to play.
Why did we not see him at Stoke? We went and mentioned that the other week, but he just seemed daft to me. He was on the bench. I could not get that whatsoever. That were almost like, to me, Wagner saying,
naughty boy,
yeah, naughty boy.
Yeah.
So you can't blame people for thinking there's something that we're not maybe seeing. I would have left it in summer thinking, can't wait to see him play next season, but at the moment we might have to watch another club because he's not getting in Huddersfield's team.
Do you think it goes back to, Danny, you were saying the 3-4-3 putting Dupuac on, do you think it goes back to utilising him in a different way, whereby maybe we can make room for him in this position and maybe playing where Kachunga is at the minute, which allows him to be higher up the pitch, but not a position which relies on him constantly to track back and do the hard yards a winger does. Maybe if he's got somebody like Eric Dern behind him.
Maybe. It's difficult.
I'd love to know, and I'm not inventing any kind of rift, but I'd love to know Dean Oil's thoughts on spending 10 million plus and somebody who can't get a kick.
I mean, that were out of this season's budget as well, wasn't it? So
yeah.
But I think what I said at the start of the season with Pritchard is that any success we're going to have, which is staying up, is going to rely on Pritchard having an influence on town. But he needs movement around him. But I think the way he plays invites movement around him because he'll take the ball into spaces where wingers should then be advancing. But it's difficult when those two wingers aren't playing yet to know what they're capable of.
It just goes back to what I'm saying about everything being so static, and the fact we're so static, it just completely takes him out of the game. And it's not his fault. It's just what he's got around him, which makes him look so ineffective for me.
I think we can go on all day, can't we? But at the end of the day, it's just down to one man, and he picks team.
Kosi, you were rather taken by Dean Hoyle's interview on Radio Leeds.
Yeah, only because one of my friends interviewed him, and we had a beer afterwards and that as well. And he could not believe it. It's the first time Johnny's interviewed Dean Hoyle, and he couldn't believe how enthusiastic and passionate and everything. And I think Dean were giving him tips on who he should be employing at Radio Leeds and what have you, and that as well. But again, you touched on it, Neil. But I listened to that for an hour, and I came away absolutely buzzing. I just wish there were a game ready to start. Yeah. The guy, he's just like the conductor of the orchestra. They were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. There were one or two. As usual, why do people always ask, is there going to be any money in January? I just never get that question. No. Like, there's 50 million. What a stupid thing.
I'm winning for so-and-so.
Yeah, we're in for so-and-so and that as well. But, I mean, I asked him a question about the training ground and kind of how far ours is behind, some of the others. And they've looked at the others when they've, kind of made the plans. And he said, yes, as you won't believe how far we are kind of behind.
The thing that struck me, and probably shouldn't have been the thing that struck me, was that people were moaning about this investment in the canal side because where were they going to have the pre-match pint? Yeah. Come on. Yeah, the man's spending £20 million on a state-of-the-art Premier League facility, and somebody's worried about where they're going to have the pint at Timmy Taylor's once a fortnight.
I'll tell you what interesting though, because I think I don't know whether we touched it on or off air last week, Matt, but you were saying Leeds Road, is it the zone or what? That's where it was going to be.
I think they're moving a lot of the things there. So I imagine they're moving the gym and some of the Crown Green stuff, but I don't think they'll move the fan zone.
No, they don't. And Dean didn't rule that out. He said he wanted something, nearer. He were hinting because the Huddersfield's kind of
public. Going to the zone's too far away from the fan zone anyway.
It's kind of the people. I know a lot of people who won't come at Canasta just because it's the other side of the stadium. I think he was hinting that pretty much he wants to be the other side. I hope he'd hope for personal reasons because I love getting my cheap beer. But for me, the Gas Club seems to be kind of that could be kind of the
Gas Club's an ideal venue, as is. To be fair, there's another one. There's that Ricky's that shut down. Yeah, that also used to be a decent pre-match pint job.
It was just interesting what he was said in that as well, and again, he was really on the front foot about the fan base. Still, getting behind the team, and I totally agree with him when last season, the energy from the sidelines, I thought it counted for points, and I think. this year. I think the fans have done quite well to stick, with it, because some of the football's not been all that. And on Saturday there were a lot of applause when we'd lost. And
the problem you've got is the 1 goal in 9 games
Yeah.
at home. People turn up to see a goal, don't you?
But I think it's telling, Neil. I mean, I mentioned it before. I'm away for the Spurs game, but I put mine on that Terry Exchange 3 weeks ago in the South Stand in a plum seat, and that went. Honestly, last year I was putting them on because I don't even know. I sometimes go to Spain now and I can watch a game, but they were going in 10 minutes. Not long now. It just feels like, again, whether it needs a spark or whether people give me one season, I've seen what I've seen, and that's just it. And if you notice, Saturday bottom of the FM lower, kind of empty seats and that as well. It just makes me wonder, I don't ever say, but do people of Huddersfield deserve a Premier team, or is it just purely results? And maybe we've just had one season and people have had enough, but it's an interesting debate, and I think
there's always going to be a level of that. You're always going to have your hardcore who'll go like us, regardless, home and away, up and down country, spend fortunes, regardless of score, not going expecting anything other than decent day out, forget the football. But there's others who purely go for the entertainment side of it, for a trip out, for a bit of a happy clappered occasion, and if they're not seeing what they want, which is goals and excitement, those people just go and choose to spend the money elsewhere and avoid the swearing.
You were mentioning recruitment, and again, kind of what we were touching on earlier about the guys, they've got to settle in, fit into the system, get used to. David Wagner's not a man who'll just sling guys in, kind of hang them out to dry or what have you, and that as well. So I think that his signings, I think you were a bit naughty with Johnny, kind of saying, are you a bit disappointed we're not seeing more of them and stuff like that as well. But I think it was a tactical, piece he did, because obviously there were a bit of, outrage, shall we say, of again, low level stuff for me, but I can kind of get it that this is. I mean, I don't know if you saw some of the tweets coming in the club. It were, what are you going to do about the fan zone and this, that, and the other. And we've seen a bit of outrage, haven't we, this week about the swearing and that as well. Not going to come on to it now, but yeah, that was interesting. And again, poor old Sean Jarvis, who I feel sometimes is the only method of communication with the club, and he's such a brilliant bloke. But
Yeah, it is.
I knew once he'd put that on his social media, it were going to go. But it's an interesting subject. But I just think if we're winning 4 games out of 5, I don't think it gets this reaction. But yeah, people just want to go.
Probably not swearing, are we, if it's winning 4 games out of 5?
We are, but we're delighted.
Different way. So the point was raised on social media from someone who's relatively new at the club, that got young boys aged 5 to 8, and she's noticed a bit of an increase in swearing and language.
I've got a lot of sympathy with Matt, and it's not going to be a view that's probably shared by a lot. I go in the South Stand, and let's be fair, the kind of maybe the clientele is a bit more youthful, shall we say, kind of 15 to 20 odd at the bottom. But I think it's a lot of unnecessary stuff. I mean, maybe again I'm going to sound like a bit of a, but all I see is kind of lads just taunting like away fans. But yeah, we get it now and again, but it's just constantly, every other word's an F or a B, a gesture. Half of the time I'm thinking, God, you'll have to watch Match of the Day, lads, because you're not watching any of the game. It's almost like rage has been saved for a Saturday at 3 o'clock, and I get, it's the weekend and we want to let off steam. But I just think the point was the guy, and I think the point Sean was trying to make is, he didn't say totally cut out the language, but I think sometimes it's just, a lot of it's just, it's almost like just swear, and I suppose you can go bigger and the standards, in the world like they were. But I kind of got where this guy was coming from, but I really don't know how you would stop it. And maybe, it's because we're not playing well. It was interesting what he said he didn't feel it last year and he's this year, so I just don't know whether it's just related because we're not doing well as well.
I think a lot of it as well is depends where they sit. And I'm not condoning somebody effing and blinding and using the C word overly, but without wanting to sound like an old man, football's been around a long time. Football is a working man's sport, or was. It's not about having a nice, happy, clappy atmosphere and a bucket of popcorn. It's about getting behind your team and getting passionate. And
do you think Sean should have put that out?
Honestly, no, I don't. He's got to be seen to take it seriously, obviously, hasn't he?
Yeah, but there's no reason why. I'd have just replied privately and I won't put it out yet. I think Kosi's right in Sean's approach. I think that he's done it with sort of the best intention, but you're always going to get some bounce back off that because you've got a lot of people who've been going a long time, and it is, people who've stood on Old East Terrace and effed and jeffed, and
It's almost
I'm not
like
saying for the sake of it in front of a load of kids. I don't agree with that.
I think fans don't like being told out of support.
No,
That's just it. But I don't think he was trying to mention that. It's almost like just think, because I must admit, I've seen, if I'm kind of, it's different in the South Stand now, but I remember when I was kind of sat in the kiln, if I was sat with kind of women and kids and stuff, I would be a little bit different.
I tailor it, because we've got, my godson goes with us now, he's only 8, and you tailor your language because you've got an 8-year-old with you. But at the same time, he knows that at times at a football match he's going to hear stuff that he knows he shouldn't repeat. And I think a lot of it is down to simple parenting. And if you talk to your kids, that's what I got told when I was a young'un. You're going to hear some stuff here, just don't repeat it. And I ain't being funny. If he's got a kid that's 8-year-old, they're hearing worse in school playground because kids say stuff to get a reaction, to have a bit of a laugh with their mates and to be a bit controversial between each other. I just think it's all been blown out of all proportion.
I think for me there needs to be some form of context, as to about what we're saying. Because I've got a little one that I take as well, but when he gets older, I understand that he's going to hear things that he probably shouldn't, and it's part of going to a ground. And a lot of it for me depends on where you sit as well. If you sit in the family stand and you've got someone who's stood up and he's effing this, C-bomb, etc.
That's a completely different
that's
ballgame.
completely out of order,
Yeah.
and that should be addressed. But if it's little things here and there, I think Graham Rayner nailed it. He's not quoted as directly on this one, but it's a tweet that I've seen directly, so it's on a public platform and he listens. But I thought it was a really good one. He's put, my lad and I have an agreement that what he hears in the ground stays in the ground. And he gave up trying to protect his innocence on the train to Wembley with a load of Reading fans giving him abuse.
That's what we do. We know her. That's just exactly
Yeah,
what we do.
I think
we know
that
her.
sums it up. Is that what
And
does
nobody ain't going to start standing up on his seat and effing and jeffing to everybody. A lot of the time, a kid, I think they're almost immune to it in a football ground, but if they do hear something, you might get a little snigger off them because somebody said a bad word. But they know full well, if you're looking after your kids right and teaching them right, they know full well not to go home and start effing and jeffing around the house and taking it to school. It's just simple
It's interesting how
parenting for
things
me.
are changing, lads. I mean, I don't watch many live games in normal Spanish stuff, but the English, they turn a lot of these foul chants down now, don't they? And canon with, stuff that used to be if they haven't gone at Sky, but it's almost like, they're wanting you to, when I go to rugby, they'll get this, if there's some swearing like in the crowds or like chants like usual referees are banker and all that stuff, they'll put rugby league is a family sport and please refrain, and they'll say this during a game, but it makes absolutely zero difference, To
be fair, that just incite more for me.
Yeah, and I've stopped doing it now,
I just think I understand why Sean's put it out. I just don't think it probably needed to be put out, but a nice message back to the bloke and, monitor it, but find out where he sits.
Yeah,
That's got to have a bearing on it. It's got to.
It does. I understand that if you've come lately, then the chances of you being able to sit in the family stand are probably a bit slim now anyway, but it is technically the one stand where the less seats are. Maybe move across
lads.
there if you can.
Zaha's got an hat-trick for Barcelona tonight.
I'd say
they've won 4-0, yeah.
Fantastic.
Told you he's world class at that.
Yeah, well done, mate.
But one thing that makes you swear, Kosi,
Oh, here we go.
is the pre-match music.
Yeah, and I know, Neil, look at Neil. Do you take blood pressure tablets, Neil? I know you're getting a bit mad
need
out
to
today.
start.
Yeah. One thing, Town, though, traditionally, I've never been... I know music's all about taste and what have you, but I remember... I'll never forget, I think it was that season 87, 88, where I remember they used to play the Bee Gees and You Win Again when we were warming up. And I think we went... Well, it's in the middle of November, we out winning a game. I think we won about 3 all season. So we've had previous with bad music, in my opinion. But yeah, Michael Effley was sold the channel. Oh God, if you're gonna make me sing it and put it on
We're
one
not-
of these,
no, we're not gonna make you sing it.
You know which one I mean, don't you? But
No.
oh God, you do. Here, this
Go
is
on,
great.
remind us.
Here we go. Du, 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 du. And then it continues, but this comes on, and it comes on a loop. But I just think, they've tried to acknowledge that Congo. There's that, although I don't think that works though,
No.
because it's an old slow
It's a bit
song.
slow, yeah.
Don't get me going and smile about. That's another one. But yeah, I just think you got to move on. And I noticed, like on Saturday, I got in at that time when again it were on. The atmosphere were pretty flat. It were almost like, we need to cut it out and move on.
He's gone.
He's
He's moved on. I've put a tweet out a couple of times, and for my sins, I have atted the club. And please listen, David Threlfall Sykes, if you are listening this evening, if you listen to this podcast, please, 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 have a word. Play the song by all means, but play it at 2 o'clock, not at 10 to 3.
Play Pritchard and get rid of that song, and then we'll be happy.
Can you not do Alex Pritchard? Does that not work for you, Kosi?
That'll be next.
Song,
that's
that song
the only
should
thing
never
you
come
can,
back for anybody else.
because it just won't have that same feeling, will it? Yeah, it's been gone. I'll tell you what I did see the other day. It was funny, but I don't know why it were on. I was just having a breakfast, and 8:45 they had the EFL greatest. I thought, 2016-17 Huddersfield versus Leeds. It was the best breakfast I have ever had. Brilliant, all sandwiched in there, and Monk Wagner. What a way to start the hour! Absolutely buzzing going to work on that as well. Yeah, they must be desperate though. It was a good game for us, but EFL greatest. Wow. But yeah, no, bin that song, and Rambo, if you're listening to this podcast, please do something different.
Are you gonna volunteer any alternatives?
What, for songs?
Yeah.
Part of you wonders whether, I mean, this has been an argument, hasn't it? But I think football stadiums like this all the time now, and music pumping out. Where in the old days it built itself, didn't it? And I don't know. I think it's gone past that now. It's almost like we have to have a song, don't we?
I think the problem is you can't build atmosphere to such a fort game in crowd because people are still having a pint till 2 to 3.
Yeah, that is very true.
But I think just don't lose it altogether. Play it at 2 o'clock. Play it at 2:10. Just play it once earlier on, and then when it's coming to a big build-up for the game, when kids are on pitch with flags ready for players coming out, never again.
Which probably brings us nicely on to Leicester. God, it sounds like I'm presenting now, Matt. But you'll hear the Kasabian and that air on, which makes me. It always makes me smile that, because I'll never forget when we got battered New Year's Day. I think, we took about 20 fans, everyone were hungover. Anthony Gerrard, disastered, and all I were hearing.
I think he would
size
hangover.
I think
I'm on fire.
Going back to our Whoppers and Weapons team with Murray Wallace at left back as well.
Oh wow!
I forgot that one completely slipped.
We didn't even mention him. I think last week, did we? Did we? No.
That says more about the lack of quality that we've had.
I think we can do something at Leicester. Maybe again, I said 3-2 last week. Maybe I should be sacked off, off this podcast. But why not?
I think we can win every week, but that's being a town fan, innit? Just you want to go out there. If you turn up to a game thinking you've got no chance before you go, what's the point?
Well, we've played well. Performances are getting better. God, another thing, Wes Morgan's not going to be playing for them, and Adam Maguire should have also been sent off. Ridiculous again, wasn't it? But again, what system are we going to play? Are we going to? Because I think we've got to be thinking. Let's be honest, Tottenham and Liverpool at home. I don't want to be negative, but points-wise, struggle.
A very, very difficult game in between those with Burnley away as well.
Yeah, we're down there
and that's
with
going
us.
to be a scrap with where they are.
Claude Puel's not well liked there. They've had a bad defeat last Saturday. Yeah. They're blaming the ref and what have you.
I don't know. Have you heard the latest one today that I've read?
No.
They're blaming the journey to the ground.
Oh, sorry, I did see that.
Because they made them go down on a Friday on a coach. Imagine having to go from Leicester to Bournemouth the day before a game on a luxury coach. You got to feel for these lads, haven't you?
I remember last year's game. Just remember Mahrez just being brilliant. Scored a stunning goal. He was outstanding again. A gun player that did us for the day. Just wondering this week, just whether we can, you've got to be optimistic. But why not though? Why not?
My optimistic view is that we might get a point, but that's just me.
What about a goal, Danny?
0-0.
No, I'm with you. I'm going there. I think we can get something. It just goes back to what we said last week as well about just we don't need to go there and think, oh, these guys won the league a couple of years ago. They've got James Maddison, they've got Vardy, they've got Harry Maguire. We need to put the fear factor to one side and just have more of a go. It's not as simple as saying just have a go at them, Town, but we just need to offer a bit more going forward, especially in terms of movement. I think if we do that, we've got every chance of going there and getting something because they're not on the best of form.
No, just looking week after, I think Inter beat Tottenham 2-1, 2 goals in the last 4 minutes. So there, Tottenham are on a downer, lads. So don't write that game off yet next week.
Never write any game off.
No limits. Any game off. Yeah, no limits. But
it's what we did though, isn't it? At the start of the season, and that's probably started this spiral of negativity. Yeah, absolutely.
The good news is I haven't really had much of a drink during these games this season. I'm going to have a good drink before Saturday. And last season that were working well. So that's my tactics for Saturday.
It's actually your fault you haven't been drunk anywhere near enough this season.
Yeah,
it's your fault.
It is, Deal. So you watch
Get on the beer,
first winner, mate. Yeah.
Quite like how the amount of goals we score is akin to how many pints Kosi has post-match.
I like it.
So I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm looking forward to seeing absolutely mortal.
Them were the days, but yeah. It's going to be tough, but I just
Are we
think
after
I
the
never.
point?
No, I just think we've got to start winning.
We've got to start winning. But
If
it's
we
a
weren't
quite a
playing
good point
Tottenham
at
and
Leicester.
Liverpool next 2 home games, then maybe I would be. But I just think we've got to get it. As 3
'Cause if-
points.
yeah, you're looking at possibly 10 games at the start of the season without a win, aren't you?
Yeah, and
Which is
Matt
worrying.
loves his stats. I'm sure we'll wheel him out how many teams have
I
stayed.
don't love stats like that.
What were Palace last year? They won after
8.
8 games, yeah. So we're getting into that territory soon. So yeah, things need to change.
Yeah, I think we've got to get a win. I think either at Leicester or Burnley, we've got to turn up and get something at one of those. We don't have to, but it would be
The good thing
be
is
very
that-
much in our benefit
what I
if we
think we
did.
can play on that. Again, everyone's coming just like Everton. They'll think Huddersfield at home, chance for you should win 3 points. There, Huddersfield at home. Let's be fair, it's not going to be a game that'll sell out their ground. They won't be. They'll be walking to their ground like we're there just because we have to go. Expectation. So we can cash in on that. For me, it's all
Absolutely.
about kind of staying,
And then
strong.
Getting front
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
their crowd could turn.
Positive. We've got again. This is what I
Especially
mean.
after getting
Get these
stuffed at
passive
Bournemouth.
wingers on the ball, and let's have a little.
Yeah.
Let's do something different.
I'm not as positive as you guys, I'm afraid.
So, Kosi, do you want to give us a prediction for Leicester?
Yeah, that station you put me on Friday, I was saying 3-2 Huddersfield. So yeah, obviously it's worked well. 2-1 Huddersfield Saturday. I think I was there when Mark Lillis, that infamous Tuesday night FA Cup. That was the only time I ever remember us doing anything at Leicester. And yeah, I want to be in that little corner celebrating. They've got the clappers as well, so hopefully,
Could have a clap off.
yeah, we can have a clap off. But yeah, why not? Just can you imagine if we won? We'd be just Saturday night, be unbelievable.
Lutterworth on fire for you, mate.
Yeah, and coming back, we've got a new destination. But yeah, no, I just don't want to be seeing people in that bar area 35 minutes because we're 2-0 down. That's all I ask. Everton, more of that, but they're not as good as Everton.
I'm gonna put mockers on here, so it will be 3-0 to them. But I just don't. I haven't seen a team in these last 2 or 3 games even threaten us to look like they're going to give us a toweling. We don't look like letting many in. It's just the other end that we need to address. So I can't see somebody doing us 3-4 like a Leicester, to be fair.
I think it'll be tight. I think we'll either be 1-1 or on the wrong end of a 2-1. But I fancy us to maybe get a point. And if we start moving, I'm going to become boring. But if we start moving a bit more up front, I think we could potentially nick it because I don't think they've looked that great in the last few weeks. So
Winnable.
Q a 4-0. Yeah.
It's winnable.
Come on,
No
Danny,
great
end us on
shakes.
positive.
2-0 Leicester.
Thanks for listening to our ramblings. And yeah, when all those predictions are wrong, you know where to tweet. @takes that chance.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the flame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Pate's got a chance. Pate scores. Jack Pate scores. Effortless in there. Smith scores for Huddersfield Town. 3-2 Town. For a Sherry. Danny Ward saves. Danny Ward saves. The Quattro's in. Round De Gea. 2-0 Huddersfield Town. Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!